and it makes it easier for people to navigate their relationships to you as allies. Being very clear about who you are and what you believe makes it really easy for people to decide whether or not they can and will work with you. It's when people are ambiguous and see themselves as simply a tool that they actually hide their power. But a really key role, I think, for white allies in the United States is, I think, creating opportunities as radical anti-racist white allies to bridge, to be not to pollinate. I don't think bridge is the right word. To do some pollinating, and not just for white allies. Lots of other folks need to be doing this too, but there's a particular opportunity that white folks in the Bay in particular have access to a set of resources that are not easily accessible to communities of color, that developing the skills to work with organizers and to developing the relationships with organizers of color and folks doing that work who are in the day-to-day on-the-ground organizing, and then being able to find ways of bringing resource and access to skills and tools that folks just don't have the resources to go out and spend all their time trying to figure out. It can actually be really appropriate. And it's dependent on the relationships, right? Like, so there's a fine line between a sort of paternalism, like I have something you need, and I can get something that you need, and I can hand it over to you in a way that that you may not be able to easily get on your own, or it's just culturally alienating to figure it out. So figuring out how to translate it and do some of that work, I think, is really useful. Oh yeah, the other big thing that needs to happen right now is there needs to be a race war between right whites and wrong whites, or right-wing whites and good-wing whites. Like right now, the white right is trying to create a race war, and they would like nothing more than that to be about black people versus white people, or people of color versus working class poor whites. That's what they're trying to do. That's what the right-wing base is aiming to do. And what needs to happen is white folks need to be like, you want to play? We'll play. Like, we need white folks to show up to Tea Party meetings and, like, throw down. When they say we're going to do, the 9/12 thing, we need white folks to mobilize in large numbers and head out there and go toe-to-toe. If they say they're going to bring baseball bats to healthcare meetings, and white folks need to be like, okay, you want to play? We'll come. We'll bring our baseball bats too. Like, if it's going to be a race war, it needs to be between whites. And we'll be your allies in that. But the last thing that we can take right now is if it goes the other way and we end up having to fight for ourselves, and white people then think of themselves as allies with people of color against right-wing white. That's not right. No, we're your allies, and you take on your own folks. Like, it's not that you're allies with us against racist white people. No, we're your allies in your fight against racist white people. No matter how bad things have ever been in the history of the human experience, and people have lived through some pretty dark times, right? Like, slavery is not a small thing. And and the Middle Ages is not a small thing, and feudal societies are no joke. Plagues, people have lived through some very, very difficult periods, and we've never stopped celebrating birth and honoring death and telling stories and singing songs and laughing and crying. We don't stop sharing food. It doesn't matter how little food we have. Humans don't stop sharing food because we're running out of food. Like, that is not the relationships that we did not evolve for that. Like, we're not wolves, lone animals. We're not, or whatever. I don't even know that anything is, but we've always found ways to keep ourselves going, and we will. We just shouldn't pretend that it's going to be easy, or that it's gonna, like this. We're at the end of a very particular kind of civilization, and a new civilization, new civilizations, new communities will form out of it, and we're a critical link in that transition. Transition is inevitable. Justice isn't. So that's the issue. We're gonna all live more locally, more regionally. But feudalism is local, patriarchy is local. So the question is, how do we make it what we want?